Hello, students. Welcome to the tea processing course. I am your teacher, Yu Jun. In the previous lesson, we mainly studied the enzyme imidation process of pan-fired green tea. In this lesson, we will learn about the rolling and drying stages of pan-fired green tea. Rolling. The objectives of rolling mainly include 2 points. First, to curl the leaves into strips and shape their appearance. Second, to appropriately break down the leaf cell structure, making it easier to extract the tea juice, while ensuring the tea remains durable for multiple infusions. The most observable aspect of rolling is the shape of the tea strips formed. The appearance requirements for rolled leaves of pan-fired green tea are summarized as the 5 do's and 5 don'ts. First, do form leaf strips. Don't leave whole leaves. Second, do form round strips. Don't form flat strips. Third, do form straight strips. Don't form curved strips. Fourth, do form tight strips. Don't form loose strips. Fifth, do form whole strips. Don't form broken strips. At the same time, the leaves should exhibit a vibrant green color without yellowing, and the aroma should be fresh and elevated, not dull or muted. Rolling is divided into cold rolling and hot rolling. Hot rolling refers to rolling the leaves immediately, after enzyme inhibization without spreading or cooling while they're still hot. The advantage of hot rolling is that the cellulose softens easily under heat, making it easier to form strips. The disadvantage is that it can easily lead to yellowing and a dull, stuffy aroma. Cold rolling refers to spreading and cooling the leaves for a period after enzyme inhibition until the leaf temperature drops to a certain level before rolling. The advantage of cold rolling is that tender leaves rich in internal substances easily form strips, and cold rolling is beneficial for the development of color and aroma. For leaves of varying tenderness, the strip-forming characteristics differ. We can follow the principle of hot rolling for old leaves, cold rolling for tender leaves. The reason is that tender leaves with lower cellulose content and higher pectin levels easily form strips during rolling, making cold rolling suitable. On the other hand, old leaves contain more starch, and hot rolling helps continue the gelatinization of starch, allowing it to fully mix with other substances, thereby increasing the viscosity of the leaf surface. Additionally, under heat, cellulose softens, making it easier to form strips. The application of pressure during rolling should follow the principle: start light, then heavy, gradually increase pressure, alternate between light and heavy, and finally apply no pressure. At the beginning of rolling, no pressure is applied. Once the leaves have initially formed into strips, pressure is gradually increased from light to heavy, tightening the strips further. When the strips are tightly formed, switch to light pressure, and finally apply no pressure, alternating between light and heavy pressure. During the process is essential, as applying pressure too early can result in loose, flat, and broken strips. The relationship between rolling time and pressure application is closely intertwined, should be considered together as a whole. Emphasizing only one aspect is insufficient. For high-grade leaves, the rolling time is generally 20 to 30 minutes. If heavy pressure is applied, the rolling time can be reduced to 15 to 20 minutes. Finally, what degree should rolling achieved? For leaves above the 3rd grade, the strip formation rate should exceed 80%. For leaves below the 3rd grade, the strip formation rate should exceed 60%. The cell breakage rate of rolled leaves is generally 45% to 55%. Tea juice should adhere to the leaf surface, and when touched by hand, it should feel moist and sticky. Drying. Drying is the final step that determines the quality of pan-fired green tea. The drying process for pan-fired green tea generally consists of 3 stages: initial roasting, secondary roasting, and final polishing and roasting. Drying does not merely refer to removing moisture from the tea leaves. Its main purposes include allowing the leaves to continue undergoing internal changes after enzyme inhibition, thereby improving their intrinsic quality, tightening the strips after rolling, enhancing their appearance, removing excess moisture to prevent mold and facilitate storage. As drying progresses, the moisture content should ideally be controlled, within the following ranges. For initial roasted leaves, the moisture content should be 40% to 50%. Old leaves can tolerate slightly higher moisture content, while tender leaves should have slightly lower moisture content. Generally, roast until the leaves do not stick. When squeezed by hand, feel slightly tacky, remain soft, and can form a clump that springs apart when released. The roasting temperature should not be too high, generally controlled between 80 to 100 degrees Celsius. For secondary roasted leaves, the moisture content should be around 20%. Roast until the leaves feel partially hard when squeezed, but do not break, with a tacky sensation and slight springiness. When processing 7.5 to 10 kilograms of initial roasted leaves, the pan temperature should be controlled between 100 and 110 degrees Celsius. There are two methods for final polishing and roasting, using a pan-type roasting machine or a drum-type roasting machine. When using a drum-type roasting machine for final roasting, the leaf quantity should be equivalent to 2 batches of secondary roasted leaves. The pan temperature should be 90 to 110 degrees Celsius, and roasting should last 30 to 40 minutes, with a moisture content of 5% to 6% being ideal. The characteristics of tea processed using a drum-type roasting machine for final roasting are relatively intact buds and leaves, good tip appearance, and minimal breakage. However, the tightness of the strips may be somewhat lacking if the secondary roasted leaves have higher moisture content. During roll roasting, the tea strips may easily become curved. Generally, it is more appropriate to roast the secondary roasted leaves to a moisture content of around 12% before using the drum-type roasting machine for roll roasting. When using a drum-type roasting machine for final roasting, 3 key aspects must be mastered. The leaf quantity must be sufficient. The drum should be filled with leaves to the point where a small amount spills out during roasting. The temperature should not be too high, except for the first 10 minutes after adding the leaves, when the temperature can be slightly higher. The temperature should be kept low thereafter. Otherwise, if drying is too rapid, there will not be enough time to properly stir and tighten the leaves. Failing to meet the requirement for tightly rolled tea strips, the roasting time should correspond to the low temperature, generally requiring 90 minutes. Low temperature, prolonged final roasting is highly beneficial for forming tight strips. Finally, the standard for properly dried pan-fired green tea is as follows. The primary tea should feel prickly when held, the stems should break easily, and the leaves should crumble into powder when rubbed. The strips of pan-fired green tea should be tight and solid, with a green, glossy, and frosted appearance, and visible tips. The processing steps for pan-fired green tea are enzyme integration, rolling, and drying. We have now explained the key points of each stage. Please review the content carefully after class. That concludes this lesson. Thank you, everyone.